Time for the business news now with Jonathan. It's all yours.
Hello Martine, nice to see you. Hello everybody watching. We're going to start in Europe, where, like the majority of the world, millions of people are struggling with rising prices and the cost of living crisis that has triggered. But there are signs of hope that is starting to ease. In the last few hours, we've had the latest monthly inflation figures out of Spain, and they show that the pace of price rises on an annualised basis has fallen to 3.1% in March, when we use the measure that allows comparison with other Eurozone countries. And that's a big drop from February's 6% and was mainly due to lower energy costs, with food prices also falling. And in Germany, Europe's biggest economy, there was also a big drop in inflation. By the same measure, it was down to 7.8% as businesses and households benefited from lower natural gas prices. Well, earlier I spoke to Spanish economist Professor Santiago Cabo Valverde from the University of Valencia, and he explained why the Spanish drop was so big this month.
Well, apart from the fact that the government took some measures like energy prices caps, lowering VAT, and the weather, and the mild weather has also helped bringing down some of the prices of the food and other agricultural products. We also have what is called a computational factor. I mean, last March, don't forget that inflation is computed year on year. Last March 2022, we had a very big rise in inflation because of the impact of the war, of the Ukrainian war, on the energy prices. Now, a year later, of course, now energy prices are going down, and the impact of the war is already mostly finished, at least for the time being. So there is also a computational factor. I mean, prices are still growing, but of course at a lower pace.
And how does the situation in Spain there compare to other parts of the Eurozone? Because in Germany, as I said, we've seen price rises are slowing as well, but it's still 7.8% the rate of inflation there.
Spain benefited from the fact that Spain government was allowed to set energy prices caps, and that's been very important. And because, the reason to allow the government to do that, from the European Commission, was the fact that Spain relies much less on gas. So it was, the way that in Europe we compute electricity prices, gas plays a very big role, and Spain and Portugal asked for a lower role in the way they compute it. So there was a cap on that. Germany relies heavily, not only on households, also companies rely heavily on gas. That's why even if their inflation is going down, it still will take more time because they depend on gas, which is still basically more expensive than a year ago.
That was Professor Santiago Cabo Valverde from the University of Valencia talking about inflation in Spain and Germany. Well, let's keep with the cost of living crisis in Europe, because Croatia has an added complication. At the beginning of this year, it became the newest user of the European single currency, the euro. That's because ditching the kuna was one of the conditions for joining the European Union a decade ago. Whilst euro membership provides advantages for the country's exporters and big businesses, many ordinary Croatians are convinced it's being used as an excuse to push up prices, as Guy Delorny now reports from Zagreb.
Zagreb market keeps it old school. It opens at the crack of dawn, closes by lunchtime, and payments are strictly cash only. But one tradition has just been scrapped for good. Croatia's been using the euro since the start of the year. It made the commitment when it joined the European Union 10 years ago, and that meant waving goodbye to Croatia's own currency, the kuna. This is now a collector's item, or more realistically, a souvenir of the kuna's quarter of a century in circulation. It ceased to be legal tender in mid-January, and locals are still getting used to the change.
People can't handle euros yet, but we will learn.
For some, the price clicks immediately. For others, 5 or 6 euros, they work it out. You tell them, take it or leave it.
Croatians can't resist a cup of coffee, but there's consternation about the cost since the currency switch. Many consumers reckon retailers have been pulling a fast one by introducing stealth price rises.
After the new year, 1st of January and 2nd of January, we were crowded with calls because all prices rise. Coffee 30%, 50%, 80%, bread, all prices were very high.
Prime Minister Andrej Plenković celebrated the euro's adoption with the national drink. He treated European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to a brew, but the government's been forced to move quickly to clamp down on recalcitrant retailers. On the other hand, Croatian exporters could be heading for the fast track. These trams are locally made. Now they're priced in euros, they stand a better chance of attracting international buyers.
It will be reducing the costs and some cumbersome things that we don't have to think anymore about kuna, euro. We don't have to pay always the transaction costs moving from one currency to another. So it's good for them.
The kuna still survives in one place. Retailers have to display dual currency price lists until September. That should be enough time for Croatians to recalibrate their mental calculators. Guy Delaunay, BBC News, Zagreb.
And let's take a look at some other business headlines this hour. The founder of collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX has pleaded not guilty to charges that he attempted to bribe Chinese authorities and that he violated campaign finance laws in the US. Sam Bankman-Fried was appearing in federal court in New York over allegations that he organized a one-off $40 million payment to Chinese authorities so that he could regain access to $1 billion of cryptocurrency funds. He's also denied other charges related to the collapse of FTX. South Africa's central bank has raised interest rates by 0.5%. The main interest rate is now 7.75%. The South African Reserve Bank said it was still very concerned about rising inflation and high electricity prices. South Africa's currency, the rand, has risen by about 2% since that announcement was made. A new plan to cut greenhouse gases and lower energy costs by investing in renewable energy and nuclear has been unveiled by the UK government. Ministers say they want the UK to have the cheapest electricity in Europe by 2035, but admit that the strategy is unlikely to bring down bills next year. And Manchester United have unveiled their latest financial results, which show the club made a net profit of $8 million between January and March. The club's bottom line was boosted by higher commercial incomes and a reduction in the wage bill. However, Manchester United's debt rose to $535 million during the period, due to the weakness of the pound against the US dollar. It comes as several groups express interest in buying the club from the Glazer family. And that's all we've got time for on World Business Report. Thank you for watching.